Hey, it took it a minute for me to get here, man. Let me just double check things. Cause your boy is still getting set back up on his system and things are having problems and things are changing, but your boy's here. Your boy Chef Bay in the day. Okay? Let me just double check, make sure I'm good. Go to my channel real quick. Says I'm live. Let me just make sure I can be heard. Changing, but your boy's here. Your boy Chef Bay in the day.
Okay.
Okay.
Bering
Let me just double check, make sure I'm good. Go to my channel. All right, all right. So let me just kind of click around here, get myself back to some normalcy, and I'm here. It's your boy, Chef Bay. Let me just kind of set up some things. But you see the title, so I'm just gonna kind of jump into it. I was cruising the YouTube internet streets like I always do, and I found a plethora of videos under the OU, which is, you wouldn't know that, everybody wouldn't know that, but Oklahoma University, I'm sorry, that's two different. Oklahoma University YouTube page, they had a whole section dedicated to like Native Americans and stories about Native Americans and stuff like that. And so we're gonna get into some of the stories some of the videos I've kind of went through a little bit. I still have a lot of them to go through because it's like 900 something videos and I plan to go through them all, okay? Everybody, typically a lot of people stop. They a 2 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute video, even long form sometimes gets people to where they don't want to move forward and watch even more. But we binge watch, at least a lot of y'all binge watch a lot of bullshit out there. So there's nothing wrong with going through and actually binge watching some things that can actually give you some history and some information and some education on the reality about where you live in this world, about this world that we live in. You know what I mean? We keep thinking about listening to all of making sure everything's straight. We've been holding truth from the textbooks that taught us in grade schools and high schools and things of that nature as if that is the truth. But when you look back at those books and things of that nature, they wasn't the actual documents that came from wherever, whatever historical situation that we're talking about. Let's just say Christopher Columbus. They wasn't the exact documents that from Christopher Columbus's journal listed in that book and showing you exactly what it said. No, it was McGraw-Hill or whoever wrote those books. It was their take and interpretation, and it ain't just one or two people. It's typically a group of people, but it was those people's take on exactly what they wanted to disseminate upon the educational system here within America. So really, that's what a lot of people hold straight. So a lot of people think about the Native American story as the one that comes through the Bering Strait from the land bridge that frozen over. And so these get people from Siberia, they had to come up with some type of story because these people look Asian, right? That's why they had to come up with something. Why do these Asian Mongolian looking people Why? How did these Asian Mongolian red looking people, not red, populate the Americas? And they was like, well, boats wasn't necessarily a thing at the time, so they had to think about them coming over over there. If it was early, they had to think about them coming over on some ice. They had to think about something, because they look like Eskimos, some of them. In reality, many of them are Asians, are Japanese, are Mexican, but later, not late model, but late century Mexican, and some Middle Easterns and some other ones sometimes up in there, but not too many of them, and a lot of white folks. A lot of these people, when you look at these people directly, let's just pull up, real quick while I'm talking about ish. Let's just pull up photos of Native Americans. Let's just be random with it, images. Let's say today. Okay, Let's just take a look. Let me blow that up, make sure it's showing up over here. If you're trying to tell me these people don't look some kind of Mongolian, Asian, Siberian, Hawaiian, and they're trying to say, no, no, when we come, they're trying to give a lot of people who have somewhat of an ethnic look besides white that class of Native American. They're almost saying, hey, if you're questionable white, pretty much let's go put you in the Native American bucket, and all the black folks will put them in the black African bucket. But technically, as we know, if you know, or those know, if you don't know, I have a documentary about it. Black people were the original Native American Amerindians, Tamaricans, from Tamiri, from America, from all whatever you want to call it. Black Americans were the first ones that DeSoto, Verrazano, and all of them came across. But without getting into it, let's look even further. Look at some more of these. If those people look Asian, you can't tell me these ones here don't look Mexican. You can't tell me those don't look Mexican. And you can't tell me that person, those people, are an exact descendant. Whoops, I'm trying to go back to the one I just had up of these people. Phenotypically, they're completely different people. But if you allow your mind to be played tricks with, especially the way that they're doing it, they're okay right now with putting themselves all in one bucket because they're getting benefits and things of that nature by claiming this Native American ancestry, and so they get to keep that. But look at that, you got them looking people, and I know you could say, well, Chef Bay, you know, people can have different types and, people. And come on now, I understand that too, but you can't tell me that doesn't look like a Guatemalan, Mexican, some of the sort. But they got on Native American garments. And, and I can keep going down the line. We can just, if we let's just take a look even further. What do they look like? Don't they look pretty Hispanic? This one right here kind of has that slight Middle Eastern look to her that I was talking about. This one definitely looks like she could be Filipino. Like, now that I'm paying more attention to these people and their looks, I'm like, So, y'all just got a full array of phenotypes. Now, you got to think about it. Let me put it right here. You got to think about it. When these people are in their countries, let's say Asia, you go to Asia, and you got the Chinese, Filipinos, you got Japanese, you got Vietnamese, you got Laotians, you got all kinds of random different people from different countries over there that makes the country of Asia. And those people, when you're over there, you can look up videos now. There's people that they're talking about I can tell that you're Laotian because of your eyes, and it's the eyebrows, bro. It gives it away. It's the eyebrows, and they'll say stuff like that. Look up the TikToks, but they can see the differences, and most people in the world can see the differences between the phenotypes and stuff. It's only here in America where they want to say it's been so much mixing that it's hard to really tell who is who at this point. It's a goddamn lie. And then so at that point, it just gives these kind of people the guys to come over here and start claiming this. Now, a lot of these people, it ain't their fault. It was their ancestors that claimed it. Maybe some Japanese people came here and was in internment camps and didn't want to get sent to an internment camp. And they was like, hey, I'm Native American. You know what I'm saying? Let me start looking left and right. I'm Native American. Like, hold on, maybe some Filipinos was working on the railroads, or some Chinese, and they was trying to get up out of this, and they was like, hey man, if you claim that you can be Native American, you know what I'm saying, you get this reservation, you get this bread, whatever. I could claim that. Let me put a little garb on and start telling my stories, right? And white folks, we all know white folks did it. I could pull up videos about that and them admitting it and their children admitting it. It's actually in my documentary. I don't want to do that because that'll take this too long, and it's kind of a sidebar note to what we're talking about today. We're going to pivot back to what I want to get to today, which is talking about how not just Black American, Native, Indigenous, Blacks, whatever you want to call us, it's not that we're the only ones saying that your stories, talking about you in particular, the so-called red Siberian, Asian, Mongolian natives, it's not that black American native blacks here. You know what? Just to save face, I'm gonna start referring to us as black natives, red natives, right? Leave it at that. So it's not that us black natives are sitting here and saying that we're finding information and we're lying and we're just in our little forums and things and on our Twitter spaces just talking about, you know, y'all Native American stories are fake and some of this other thing. There's white folks all over the place that have already debunked your story, especially the Bering Land Strait story. So let's just get to one of the clips. Hopefully it's one of the right clips. I think I put this in the right order, but we're gonna get to one of the clips that was talking about that, and we're gonna go from there.
Great. Many years ago, right, when the world was covered in ice.
And there's scientific evidence for that. I mean, there's very, very strong connections between the native peoples of North America and the indigenous peoples of Siberia. And we do know that the land bridge existed, but one of the problems is that locked us into an understanding of the peopling of North America that was confined to the parameters of that land bridge.
Right.
And increasingly we find evidence that refutes that.
We were finding a lot of anomalies that you could.
Give me 1 second. I want to make sure you all can hear that, and I might have to replay that, but let me just make sure it can be heard because it's not registered on this side.
Indigenous peoples of Siberia. And we do know that the land...
I guess it is because I see why. It's playing from here. Okay. That's my fault again. New things, whatever. So let me play that again and go from here.
Very well explained.
Exactly. So archaeologists spent a lot of time trying to explain that away.
Right.
But now they're looking at a diverse suite of interpretations for the peopling of native North America.
And crazily enough, including boats in that conversation and things like that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna start.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm gonna start that over. Okay, I didn't start it over. I swear I got it right this time. Okay, give me 1 second. Here we go.
Between the native peoples of North Oklahoma. Most courses begin, if you're going to talk about Native Americans, begin with a discussion of the Bering Land Strait.
Many years ago, right, when the world was covered in ice.
And there's scientific evidence for that. I mean, there's very, very strong connections between the native peoples of North America and the indigenous peoples of Siberia. And we do know that the land bridge existed, but one of the problems...
First of all, let me just go ahead and switch that like that.
That locked us into an understanding.
First of all, as you can say, they said there's a strong connection between the people that are claiming to be Native American and the people of Asia. He said a strong connection. You know what I'm saying? You're Asian. Now, if you want to say you got here first, then you have to prove through some type of documents, just oral history, because at least, and oral history can work, but you better have some kind of proof up until written history of modern times, because there's at least written history from the 1500s of who these voyagers was coming up on when they got to these shores. So let me play that again. Let me finish playing that.
Of the peopling of North America that was confined to the indigenous peoples of Siberia.
Right. when the world...
between the native peoples of North Oklahoma. Most courses begin, if you're going to talk about Native Americans, begin with a discussion of the Bering Land Strait.
Many years ago, right, when the world was covered in ice.
And there's scientific evidence for that. I mean, there's very, very strong connections between the native peoples of North America and the indigenous peoples of Siberia. And we do know that the land bridge existed, but one of the problems is that locked us into an understanding of the peopling of North America that was confined to the parameters of that land bridge.
Right.
And increasingly we find evidence that refutes that.
We were finding a lot of anomalies that you couldn't very well explain.
Exactly.
The land bridge.
So archaeologists spent a lot of time trying to explain that away.
Right.
But now they're looking at a diverse suite of interpretations for the peopling of native North America.
And crazily enough, including boats in that conversation and things like that.
Exactly.
Right.
It may well be that more people came by boat than they did by the land bridge. language. But I think what we want to emphasize here is that we're going to examine people's own stories, their own creation stories, their oral tradition that's the foundation of Native literary traditions, if you will. And it's in those stories in which the people of the Native peoples of Oklahoma continue to perpetuate that oral tradition, and it's an incredibly important part of contemporary Native society.
I think that's exactly right. And I think you're exactly right, too, about how it is that literature has long been in conversation with these oral traditions. Orature is another word that I kind of use to cut down on the syllables here and there. This is something I don't always do, right? But in talking about these sorts of oral traditions, we see that they're not all creation stories. They're not even all trickster stories, as wonderful and funny as those are. We're also going to be talking about the rules that surround who can tell stories and when they can tell stories. And
I thought that was very, very funny that he said that.
Between the
Sorry.
Native peoples of North
I thought that
Oklahoma.
was very, very funny that he said that. Let me just put
Most
it back
courses
on your board
begin,
for a
if
second.
you're going to talk about Native Americans, begin with a
Sorry.
discussion of the
I'm getting
Bering
used to
Land
this,
Strait.
guys.
Many years
I'm
ago,
just
right?
trying to
Yeah,
stop
whenever
the
the world was-
media. Now the media won't deselect. Oh, sorry. Okay, I swear, I'm gonna get these kinks out. But as you can see, you know, when he talks about there's strong evidence showing the relationship of people here in the Americas that claim to be Native American in Asia. You know, so that counts for Japanese-looking people, Filipino-looking people, Chinese-looking people, Siberian-looking people, all of those looking people, and anything in between. That accounts for anybody that came over there. And then they're saying that they're starting to look more at theories on boats coming over here, which because some of the first things that came over here were boats. But there's going to be more talking about how people, we're going to get to other clips about how people came from South America. Because as we know, there were ancient civilizations all over the place. And some people say certain people had to have come from, had to come from Africa. All black looking people had to come from Africa. Everybody, you know, and people just ignore. It's not necessarily that that people are ignoring the fact that we had people here in South America like the Aztecs and the Mayans and the pyramids that they built. It's just that not as much emphasis in the major stories like Hollywood and other places have placed a lot of emphasis on the culture of the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Olmecs, things of that nature down in there. A lot of times you hear about Egyptian culture, you know, being perpetuated all over the screen and the Egyptian gods and this and that, which is cool. I do definitely have a connection, and we have some connections with that. But you don't hear them talk a lot about the South Americans. And it's almost like even when they do talk about the Mayans and the Aztecs, they want you to already think what you think now, which is what you think now of what a Mexican looks like, which most Mexicans don't look like these light-skinned, bright-colored Mexicans that a lot of times come over here to the United States. A lot of those people are the Mexicans who are dark-skinned, who have been heavily mixed with the Portuguese and the Spaniards who conquered those areas long ago. You know, and the Catholics and all that stuff, I mean, they pretty much went through there in South America. Well, you know, the people there, especially, there's a lot of dark skin, like the Chavistas, which are the people within, I want to say that's Venezuela, when they were under there are people in the barrios, like the hood of Venezuela, where Hugo Chavez at the time was like the president, or leader, or whatever he called himself. And he, his last name Chavez, he gave his last name, they called themselves the Chavistas after his last name because he was so beloved by a lot of the dark-skinned looking Venezuelans down there. And a lot of the light-skinned Venezuelans were all in the media. They were all almost like white supremacy how white supremacy has taken over a certain area, and they put themselves in all the major spots because they had the bread and the technology and the know-how, and so they're gonna strategically place themselves where they're gonna place themselves. But you get in your head today that an Aztec or a Mayan looks like this person right here. You know what I mean? Like, or like this is what an Aztec or a Mayan look like. But you can easily do this and say Aztec temple drawings from when they actually, let me say cave drawings. Here we go. So there's two in particular, but let me just pull up this one. So as you can tell, these are on the rock formations of where the Aztecs and the Mayans drew themselves. Actually, I should really put temple, Aztec temple, and I probably should do Mayan, because there's one in particular I'm looking for. Let me just say, Aztec Mayan cave photos. Goodness. Okay, cave. Come on now. I have it in my. Here we go. Cave drawings. Good God. So there's one, and I'm gonna click on it, but I'm trying to find another that was a way better depiction. Here it goes. Here goes one. And so this was in one of the caves. And when you look at what they show a Aztec and a Mayan and how they look, there's your Aztec or your Mayan here. Black, dark skin, real brown skin, hella brown skin. But no, there's others. You might say, oh, everybody was dark back then. Oh, here's the one I was looking for. Here's the major one I was looking for. And this is a remaking of the Mayan art. But look, this is one of the temples where they found this. So look, this is directly from the motherfucking temple. This is why I gotta save these. But first of all, you can already see the color of the people is definitely consistent. Okay, it's definitely not this color whatsoever. Okay, got to keep watch on my battery. Definitely not this color. Definitely is this color. But let's get into even closer views of what they look like and some more details. Let's see if they have it down here. They have it as that main photo up top. Here's some more photos. Okay, they have it as that main photo up top, but they have those words kind of in the way. They have the words kind of in the way, but I can zoom in like that. Okay. Now, what do these people look like? What kind of hairstyle is this? What kind of hairstyle is this? What kind of hairstyle is this? Would you say, is this hairstyle? And it was because they couldn't draw straight lines so thin that they made them thick, and they only used brown because that was the only color they had available to them at the time, even though there's yellow and other colors up here and a lighter colored person, even though, come on. So what I'm getting at is if the Aztecs and the Mayans, and let's Google Aztec Mayan civilization. Aztec Mayan civilization origin year, something like that, the years. It's believed that the Mayan peoples began to settle in the Yucatan area, what is now called Mexico, between 2600 BC and 1800 BC. So first of all, you got to think, these people are black. They're not from Africa. They didn't come over here on a boat on Africa, you know what I mean? Not that we know of. And Africa may not have even been called Africa at the time. Al-Kebulan or whatever the fuck it might have been called, but either way. Where we go with this is there were black people all over the planet. And then as we migrated away from the equator, people started to have phenotype changes, skin color changes, things of that nature. And then people settled into their pockets of countries in the area, started creating cultures and settlements and things of that nature that were specific to them and their region based upon what grew there and the chemicals in the ground, the types of foods in that zone. And everybody came up with their own cultures. Our culture as Black Americans, Black natives, came from the blacks who populated the Americas, not these Asian looking people. And as we can see, their Bering Strait story isn't holding up so well. So let's go into a couple of more clips here and get a little bit more insight on what they were talking about here in OU.
From the Iroquois. But I'm starting to think maybe that these kinds of trades have been happening for a long time.
They have, and it's I think important to remember that it's very, very difficult to tie the societies and the groups found in the archaeological record to the historically known Native American tribes of today. We're just not capable of making the societies and the groups found very, very difficult to tie the societies and the groups found in the archaeological record to the historically known Native American tribes of today. We're just not capable of making those strong, direct connections.
All right.
Important to remember, I think important to remember that it's very, very difficult to tie the societies and the groups found in the archaeological record to the historically known Native American tribes of today.
What does that mean? What does that mean? It is hard to tie the groups that are known in the records with the currently known Native Americans of today. This is from OU. Do I need to let me play that shit again real quick? Yeah, say it. Let me put it on your screen real quick. Sorry, y'all, man. I swear, like I like this thing. And it's my fault, really.
Down south.
It's my fault.
Lakes region and then down south from the Iroquois. But I'm starting to think maybe that these kinds of trades have been happening for a long time.
They have, and it's I think important to remember that it's very, very difficult to tie the societies and the groups found in the archaeological record to the historically known Native American tribes of today. We're just not capable of making those strong, direct connections.
All right. Well, now that we've kind of got a good intro to what's going on out there at Spiro, what to your mind is the most interesting thing about that place?
Well, I think that Spiro is important for a number of different.
At that point, they start talking about Spiro Mound in Oklahoma, which is one of the mounds, which there's thousands and thousands of mounds in the ground of America, in the lands of America that have yet to be unearthed purposely have yet to be unearthed, dug up, and you know, see what's in them and collect the shit and have an actual archaeological expedition or whatever you want to call it, dig or whatever, take place in order to figure out what's in them. So here we are, you got a group of people whose story, according to them, the Bering Strait story, has some archaeological evidence that it's possible it could have happened in theory, but not enough strong archaeological evidence to give it truth that it was the reason for the population of the Americas by the red natives that have the people that have a strong connection to Asia. Okay, so basically that's what they're saying, and then on top of that, they're saying that the groups of people who are listed in the historical records, it's very hard to tie them to the same people who are claiming to be Native Americans today. You got to start looking elsewhere. You got to start looking at these folks, us folks. You know what I'm saying? But that's what he's saying. So if it already goes to say that these people who are from Asia, whose stories don't hold up, so we're just gonna go ahead and just accredit them as, hey, yeah, we'll give you credit either way that you're Native American, just off the basis of word. Then we need to give that same kind of credit to Black Native Americans who claim it as well. Those who have strong historical records that go as far back as the 1700s or so, and maybe some can tie it back even further, that their people were here and on this land. And um, and that's what's really important. But now we're going to get into a couple more clips here, and again, you have a set of people who, as you just heard from OU, Oklahoma State University, don't have as much, historical records that can really prove they are where they are. They are the ones that are over a particular board that restricts people from digging up Native American lands. And they have a good reason why, or at least a reason enough why that would keep you, or, keep you in your moral, it's almost like your moral conscience would make you not want to do it. So you've heard, not have you ever, but many of you've heard of how, man, they dug up an Indian burial site and all of a sudden bad stuff started happening. I'm starting to look at that as more of a fake ass juju, crappy, scariest story in order to try to keep you from digging further into the ground here in the Americas. Because why would the people want you not to dig if it's going to prove more information that who they are is real? They're going to say, well, that's our ancestors there. We don't want them dug up. And then you would think that today's time, whereas you have people from OU saying, hey, we can't, you know what, I got to get my smoke on. But you got people from OU saying, hey, we're not even for sure if there's enough records and history to tie these people. And we definitely know they came from somewhere else. And we definitely not sure about the story that brought them here. But don't dig up their evidence, You would think they'd be like, what? You're trying to erase us, OU? Because they're saying black Indians are trying to erase them. They should be like, oh, you trying to erase us, OU? Okay, well, go ahead and start digging and start finding, see what you find. And then you're going to find our people down there. And then it's on you after that, right? If you want to go that far. But no, they say don't dig. Don't dig. Don't you do no digging. Why? Let's take a look.
We've talked about corn making its way.
What interests me the most are the earthquakes, I have to say. I think they're...
I hope that wasn't playing the whole time, guys. I hope it wasn't playing over me that whole time. I can't look back right now, so I'm about to play this one. Let me start it over.
It's just amazing to think.
I don't think it did.
We've talked about corn making its way.
Sorry, it's trying to play these both. Let me deselect that.
Up north.
Okay, I swear I'm gonna get this, y'all. I swear I'm gonna get this.
Around residents.
Talking about the ceremonial center, we've talked about corn making its way up north. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that we first felt like we needed to figure out was how America got peopled, and we're going to talk some about emergence and origins, but what about the land strait theory? We've come from up north, and now we're down south, and now we're coming back up north again. How is all that working out in contemporary theorists' heads?
Well, one of the things that I think is important to discuss is the fact that it doesn't necessarily entail the movement of people. It has more to do with the movement of ideas. Right? So moving up out of Mexico was maize agriculture and the religious systems that were designed to support the conditions necessary to have a successful crop, particularly at the scale where you're feeding thousands, if perhaps tens of thousands of people.
Right. Okay, well...
Okay, so, as you heard there...
Around residents.
Talking about...
Stop that, get that off the screen. As you heard there, maize agriculture, which is like corn, I believe. Maize agriculture coming from the south to the north is now starting to be looked at as a possible option of the peopling of the United States. what kind of people did I just show you who was down there in the South Americas? Aztecs and Mayans. And what did they look like in those caves? Did they look like this bitch right here? This bitch? No disrespect, bitch. Did it look like this bitch right here? Or did it look like niggas like this? Huh? What do you mean? Right? What? So, and there goes another one right there. Look at that. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe your boy, I got one right here for you. What do those people look like? Do they look like that bit right there? Nah. And they call us pretendians. What are they pretending to be? But, okay, let's get into it. So on that clip, he also talked about boats and how, boats possibly came over and stuff like that. So, again, we have a people here who claim to be Native Americans, and just within seconds, minutes, I've shown you enough dialogue between these two, and this was mostly in one video. Enough dialogue between these two people to pretty much refute that these people have any kind of historical relevance in this country. But we still give it to them based upon their oral history, which just means you can lie. Well, let's just say they had an oral history and they can just tell us what they want. Oh, that's cool. Hey, okay, well, black people had an oral history. Let us tell you what we need. No, you can't. You need some records. That's what they're going to tell us. Oh, you need some records, black man. Okay. So let me get to the last clip that I want to play for y'all. Well, not necessarily the last, because I'm going to play a couple of clips to actually still corroborate or to talk about why this is so important. But let's go here and to the clip.
Remind people that the work of archaeology benefits everyone, and it's I think it's always interesting to me that tribal peoples have the same, if not more, interest in the work of archaeology and the results. After all, these are their ancestors that we're talking about here.
He just said they have more interest in the results of an archaeological find than anybody else, because we should be finding them people there. It should be proving more of their records, right? If they got these oral histories, then they should let us dig, because when we dig, we're going to find some stuff that's going to prove their existence, and it's going to help to solidify them in whatever they need to be solidified in. You can shut the pretendian black Indians up if you really needed to. That's basically what they can do. But, let them keep talking.
I don't know anybody else who has
Their ancestors that remind people that the work of archaeology benefits everyone, and it's I think it's always interesting to me that tribal peoples have the same, if not more, interest in the work of archaeology and the results. After all, these are their ancestors that we're talking about here.
I don't know anybody else who has that key old book, Cherokee Archaeology, on their shelf, right? Yeah, except folks,
It's always
working
right,
with Indian studies.
right. Yeah, I think that, for example, the excavation of graves. There's a reason that archaeologists excavate graves. They're a tremendous source of information. And because all we have left are the durable materials, the funerary objects, oftentimes that's some of the strongest evidence that they have for their interpretations. But we have to remember that, again, these are people's ancestors. So that you have to have a really good reason today to conduct an archaeological excavation, and more importantly, tribal partners have to agree that it's worthwhile to undertake that.
Okay.
Tribal partners have to agree that it's worthwhile to undergo that particular dig that you're trying to do. Who are these tribal partners? The reason why I brought this up is because you have a group of people who have, I keep repeating this, who have been proven through this conversation to have no strong ties, whether through records, archaeological finds, other than just theories and oral traditions, that they're ties to this land, but they get to be the tribal commission of people who decides whether you dig or not. That's how you bar people from digging. And that's where I'm getting to. Let him finish.
Now, out at Spyro, they're using some different methods to get at this. So they're not jumping to digging out the graves. They're trying to do some other things first. What are they up to?
You know, as we saw in the video, they're using non-intrusive means. So they're using all sorts of remote sensing, magnetic imaging, so that they can actually see what they refer to as anomalies in the soil, underneath the soil, so that they have a pretty good idea of where the materials are. This has been incredibly useful.
I'm gonna go through and show y'all this. If you Google, or YouTube, I bet I'll find it. LiDAR mounds, United States, U.S. Right here. There's a guy right here. He uses LiDAR.
Shows hundreds of mounds, some of which are isolated, others which are tightly clustered. The stretched hillshade image here shows hundreds of mounds, some of which are isolated, others which are tightly clustered together, particularly on the western side of the image. Within this mass of mounds, there's an interesting road-like feature. It's not clear what it is, but it's almost 200 feet wide.
So what he's saying are mounds, all these little circles. So this is a satellite view from top down, way up, using LiDAR, light imagery, whatever, some kind of, to be able to look at the ground. It almost makes these shadows so you get to see some depth and terrain and whatever. All of these little circles that you see are mounds, okay? And these are cluster mounds that he was talking about, heavy, and they over this is a lot of forest and trees. And so the way he can see this with this LiDAR imagery, because typically from the satellite view, you would just see a lot of trees. Apparently, the LiDAR has some kind of technology to allow you to see the ground and remove the trees and the other things around it so you can really get more of a picture. They got it, I guess, somehow based in the algorithm that it can kind of take that shit out. But then you get to see all of these mounds that are here. This is one area. So that's what it looks like on a map, on a satellite map. And then he's gonna show how it looks on LiDAR. Let me go to one back over here. So this is how it looked right there. And then this is how it looked in LiDAR. And so what you see, and I'll show you here. So what you see here, I used to be an engineer, so I had to see this, but these lines coming through here are roads. And that's a road, road. And some of these roads, it almost looks like it's separating the land plots. So there'd be a lot of fencing going on around here. But long story short, when you look at it from this view, wish I could zoom in right here, but all of these little bitty dots, circles going all around, like here, all of these mounds. And the thing about these mounds is many of them have things inside of them. And they don't want people to go looking, And this guy points out this shit out in many different areas. Look at this one. Let me switch the view. Look at this particular look. All of these little bitty mounds and hills scattered all across there. And you don't think the landowner that owns that land don't know about that shit? Come on now. You can kind of see the land plots over here. A lot of the mounds are off here so this is the street. This is like somebody's plot of land, and they got some mounds on their land, but you can see that it's almost been cleared. Some has been cleared, in order to make land plots where they actually stay. But it's like it's like they're still not disturbing those mounds. Isn't that crazy? You got land and that you done bought up, and you can clear that bitch out, to get it straight for yourself, but you ain't cleared out the mounds. So let's let him finish talking, because I kind of rudely interrupted.
Useful in avoiding graves, actually.
Okay.
In many.
Oh, he was saying that now they're using this LiDAR to avoid graves to be able to help pinpoint places to dig. And, maybe they can, it's like they'll take this LiDAR information to a particular tribal council that they're going to name, and they will let them know, oh, there's some buried people there, you can't dig there. Which, to be honest, they're probably just lying. Our people were so vast. Our people spread far and wide. They could be buried anywhere over here. No digging must not take place. Get your stupid ass out of here. Dig, nigga. Dig and let's see what's in there. You know what I'm saying? Dig it all up. Let's find what we find. And if you watch my documentary, Black Indians, Red Natives, if you watch my documentary on my channel, I actually show a lot of evidence of people who have dug up mounds and what they found and why they stopped them from digging even further, and how the archaeological societies will shun them if they get caught with it, get caught trying to, sell it to museums and stuff. There'll be a laughing stock, whatever. So let me let this man finish what he was saying, okay?
Instances, and focusing, just as they are on the current excavation out there on a residential, actually see what they refer to as anomalies in this. Yeah, and these are people's ancestors. So that you have to have a really good reason today to conduct an archaeological excavation, and more importantly, tribal partners have to agree that it's worthwhile to undertake that.
Okay. Well, now, out at Spyro, they're using some different methods to get at this. So they're not jumping to digging out the graves. They're trying to do some other things first. What are they up to?
As we saw in the video, they're using non-intrusive means. So they're using all sorts of remote sensing, magnetic imaging, so that they can actually see what they refer to as anomalies in the soil, underneath the soil, so that they have a pretty good idea of where the materials are. This has been incredibly useful in avoiding graves, actually,
okay.
in many instances, and focusing, just as they are on the current excavation out there, on a residential unit.
I see. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so you're talking about ways in which folks have figured out how to avoid perhaps the most contentious practices of archaeology and avoiding these sorts of graves. But of course, they've done it in the past, and there are some skeletons and things like that that are still sitting on some shelves around. So before too long, as we roll along into our fourth unit, we'll talk about how it is that you navigate those kinds of waters. Anything to look forward to?
We're definitely going to have a robust conversation about NAGPRA. That's the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which was really responsible for a lot of the change that we've seen in the way that anthropology and archaeology are conducted today.
All right, good. We got a lot to look forward to.
Wow. So, let me get that off there. I'm getting better with this. So, as you can see, there's a particular organization headed by some people who have no strong history or ties or archaeological evidence that's really giving them their backing to have the story that claims that they were the first people that populated the United States of America, at least North America, before it became the United States. Right? And these people are over the organization that stops you from being able to prove their existence here by keeping you from digging or not into these graves. Now, on my documentary, I might have time to still pull that up. Actually, I'll pull it up now. On my documentary, I have this thing where, let's say this is the Miami Herald. This is only 1 minute and 26 seconds, where he actually talks about when they started digging in Brickell, Miami, so they can build a new high rise, because you know when new high rise, new high capital construction has to go on, commercial construction needs to go on. Oh, they'll do some digging then. You get some permits to do some digging, but when they did some digging, they found 8,000-year-old artifacts. Uh-oh. Says people was down in Florida 8,000 years ago. Says it's older than the pyramids in Egypt. Let me let you listen.
That they wanted to build this multi-use building on the site, right? They first of all had to remove a pre-existing structure. And it was well known in the archaeological community that beneath that building there was likely to be some kind of archaeological material. How much, we didn't know until that building was removed. It very quickly became clear.
Real quick, it was already known in the archaeological community that there would be something in that ground. How much or what, they didn't know, but they already knew years ago.
That the depth and the horizontal extent and the significance of the archaeological site there was more. To put that in context, this site is older than the pyramids in Egypt. The site is older or as old as some of the very first cities ever built in Mesopotamia. And yet, very little is known comparatively about these people who built this site, who lived there hundreds and thousands of years ago, precisely because there hasn't been enough systematic scientific archaeological work done at the site. One of the tensions throughout this project has been between the developer, who's been constantly pushing, right, to begin construction, and the archaeologists who have been necessarily moving slowly. And we can have the discussion about whether or not this work should have ever happened. As an archaeologist, I feel like this site should have been preserved. But given that the developer is allowed to do this legally, right, I think it is incumbent upon them, it is their responsibility as corporate citizens in Miami to make sure that while they are realizing profit, while they are building this building, they are also preserving as much of this site and as much of this information for the future as possible.
It's
Whoa. Older than Egypt. Uh-oh. And they called it, there's another clip, but I ain't going to put it up. They gave them a name called the Tequesta Indians. And they said that they don't really know if that was the name of the Indians that was there or not, but that was just the oldest record that they had of what was the name of some of the tribes that were in that area from some of the maps. I found that map. Your boy likes to sleuth the internet. Here is a map of Florida. As you can see, I don't know if I can really zoom in. This is my first time using it. I don't think I can. But either way, bottom right-hand corner in Florida, right above PROV, where it would be province, there's Tegesta, Tegesta. So that was the name that they gave the Indians, or at least the ruins that they just found. But over here to the side, which is funny, that I pulled this up, and I wish I could point out something, but to the left, to the far left, it says Florida, and there says Tamaricans, right? And there are some black-looking Indians standing to the right with the feathers and the bow and arrows, and there's a bunch of black Indians in the background, and to the left you have some Spaniards, white-colored guys. And if you're looking at it, it says Florida to the left, bottom left. I wish I could point it to you. Right above that, it says Tamaricans. Tamaricans. Take the T off. Americans. Americans. Tamaricans. This is the map from De Soto. Hernando de Soto. Hernando de Soto, that is. Let me click back over to your boy since I can't zoom in. Hernando de Soto. That's the map that I found. And the reason why I wanted to tie that in, because you may not believe that that map was real. But if I pull up the clip of that area, which I don't want to pull it up, it's going to have to believe me or go watch my documentary. They gave it the name of the Tequesta Indians. So that would give some kind of credit to that map, right? That at least says, hey, this map has some kind of credit, because the Archaeological Society in Miami and the people that's talking about the things that they found in the dig, they're referencing a name that's on De Soto's map that I just found. And on De Soto's map that I just found, you got black colored Native Americans called Tamaricans. Now, people keep saying, I'm about to lose battery power, so I don't have too much longer. But people keep saying that the word America came from Amerigo Vespucci, and now they're talking about the Amarisques tribe. No, it was the Tamaricans. Tamaricans came from the word initially Tamiri, Tameri. Tamiri, and cons was almost like saying like Americans, like Oklahoman, mankind. Some that was like a suffix of a word that said where it comes. Tamaricans. They were the Tamaricans, and they were black Tamaricans. And if you take off the T or just forget it, then it's Americans, as of black Americans. And Tamiri is another word for Egypt. Is Egypt America? That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother live stream I'm gonna have to do, because people think it's a crazy notion. But if you search ISIS temple in the United States, it pops up in the Grand Canyon. They also got a Buddhist temple over there. They got a Shiva temple. And they look like ruins of old pyramids that's been weathered in the photo that pulls up on the Google. If you don't believe me, let me just think I'm talking crazy, okay? Your boy ain't talking crazy. ISIS, let me pull me up on here, okay? ISIS temple, right? First of all, what does that photo look like? It's real triangular. You know what I'm saying? Even behind it. A lot of triangular structures, but I could just be tripping. The planet could have just formulated that how it did through weathering and shit over time. Your boy could be tripping, but I don't know why they call it ISIS temple. And I don't know why they put it smack dab in the goddamn Las Vegas, Arizona, United States area. And in this same area, if you look around, let me see if I can find them. It takes some real looking to get all the names. Let me see if I can find one for you so you don't think your boy tripping. I should just search the word temple. Let me just do that right there. Temple. Ooh. Boy, when you search the right shit, man. Look at you. You got a Confucius temple, a Holy Grail temple. Oh, the Confucius temple look pretty damn massive, like some motherfucking triangular structures as well that's weathered. You got a Shiva temple. Look at the photos. Osiris temple. Oh, Isis temple. Brahma temple. Look at the photo of that Brahma temple. Oh, really? Huh? Manu temple, Jupiter temple, Apollo temple, Vishnu temple, Shiva temple, Solomon temple. So I'm not saying that they just couldn't have just been named that. I haven't looked up the history particularly just yet. But I do have some information on my documentary that you can go check out, Black Indians, Red Natives, on my channel, that actually shows people, that's the ancestors letting me know I'm telling you that real, that actually shows people digging up these mounds, having all this evidence. It shows Egyptian hieroglyphs, Hebrew hieroglyphs, and inscriptions and stuff. They got all kinds of stuff that they had. They know this stuff exists. These people in my documentary are people that used to work for the Smithsonian Institute, people that have current museums currently with this stuff housed, people that used to work in all kind of different fields. So why don't they want, the main thing I wanted to get to with this is, why don't they want us digging? They don't want us to dig because they know what we will find. I just showed you this dude that had all them mounds up. I think I may have, oh, no, right here. All these mounds. And it's possible that every single one of them might have something in them. It's possible. It's possible one or two or three of them out of this photo has something in them. Something that would tie them back to something. And really, there's books in Hernando de Soto, his expedition books. I want to say they talked about a lot about the mounds that they found, and they were unearthing and finding all kinds of stones and precious metals and stuff like that. You know, so like we would if you just go search this now that I've put the bug in your head about mounds, you'll find all kind of input. Indian mounds, Native American mounds. Just YouTube that. Start diving deep and seeing what you find. But they don't want us to dig because they know what we'll find. So what you have here ultimately is a group of people who have seated themselves within our identity. And it's two people, because the Europeans have also seeped themselves in our identity because they claim to be Americans, right? But the thing about the white Americans is they actually go ahead and claim their German ancestry, their European, Italian, wherever they came from ancestry. Many of them will. Many of the Mexicans that come here may claim their Guatemalan, Mexican, whatever history too. They'll start claiming that they're Mexicans and still, Americans still, but they will eventually tell you where they come from. Many Africans will start telling you where they come from after they quit lying about being Black American and say, no, I'm really Nigerian, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Many of them will do that. But you have these, and many Chinese and Asians of today that come over. They do claim their area, but you have this group of people who came during a particular time period and started claiming this Native American ancestry along with white folks. And now they're the ones that are prevalent on most of the reservations that are given any kind of assistance from the federal government versus the black tribes that started them. Like the Chata, which is now the Choctaw, but it was Chata, Chatah, Chata, I believe. And they actually claim that their name came from the Chata. There's an old, that's why I love today's time, because you know you can go to all these things that people are putting out and they don't know who's watching. But there's another thing that I found on either OU or one of them Oklahoma websites, YouTube channels where they were talking. I gotta stop. I got 6% left on my iPad. But where they were talking about how their name came from originally the Choctaw people, and I'm like, oh, they're really admitting it. So if you claim to be from the Choctaw people, then that means you have to give credit to the Choctaws coming from Mississippi. And actually, they actually say that it comes from the Mississippi area, all this other shit, you know. And so they're giving credit, but they're not giving credit to the actual tribe of people who are there today, which are black. Queen Chief Running Horse. Look at her channel. I'm gonna just show you, pull it up for you real quick, because your boy ain't no liar. Sorry, Queen Chief Warhorse. Cooking with Chief. Serving Up History. One of my favorite news channels to watch. Whenever I go, I just keep checking back. She just went live 2 weeks ago, and I was so thrilled, and I watched it. But she is a literal chief of the Choctaw tribe. She has so much information and documents that prove her existence. The one right here, these two right here with this guy, this white dude in this green jacket and white shirt, the best ones to watch right now. He helps to corroborate. He helps to prove some of the stories that she's saying. If you just gotta hear it from a white guy, you don't need to, because she has the documents and shit to prove things. But if you must listen to it from a white person, she has one there that she's discussing with, and they go back and they butt heads, and I like that. And my iPad is letting me know that, nigga, you ain't got much time left. So, all in all, we got to start digging, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to let us in these mounds. Excuse me. Wow. Sorry, guys. Somebody's got to let us in these mounds. But, you know, even if they don't, we have enough documentation from a lot of these expeditions and digs and things and videos and past and shit to prove black native existence on the American land. So, that's been an hour. That's almost long form. I could have gone longer, to be honest, but your boy running out on this iPad battery power. I didn't know I had that up right there. My bad. But yeah, so enjoy your day. It's just your boy Chef Bay in the day.